All right, I think we're finally ready to get the show started here. I've got all the links sent out, all the invites sent out to everybody out there, out on Twitter, in Discord, wherever you find me. Got all the promotion going for this big NBA slate, guys. We got 13 games to talk about. 13 games. We had 12 games 2 days ago. Dropped all the way down to just 2 games last night. And we're back again with 13 games on tonight's NBA slate. What a bunch of stuff to go through. Appreciate everybody joining me this morning. Shout out to the live chat. King Chris is already up in the building. He's already dropped the like bomb already. I am trash in Roblox. You weren't first this time, but second still pretty damn good. Shout out to you. I am trash in Roblox. Maybe you'll get better in Roblox one day and we can update that name, change that name up. See Chav's up in the building. What's happening to you? Low Baller already dropping some likes in the live stream. Love to see it. Tony says, good morning. Great slate of props for today. Yes, agree with you there. Travis says, man, what's up, Big CJ? Let's do it. Oh, we gonna do it. Oh, let's do it. Oh, let's do it. Ronald's Green back up in the building again with another what's up. The most solid, most consistent guy that I know of is Ronald's Green. Every morning in here, what's up doesn't deviate from the script whatsoever. It's always 2 words. What's up? What's up to you, Ronald's Green? Thanks for being here. Emmanuel says, good morning. We need locks today. Have you checked Home Depot lately for the locks? There are no locks. Listen, I thought I had a lock last night with Mitchell Robinson over fantasy points. The guy couldn't keep his hands to himself, so his butt was glued to the bench for most of the game. And Mitchell Robinson ended up fouling out. Had him over his fantasy points. Looked pretty darn good. Looked like a lock. As you folks like to say sometimes, it was not a lock, all right? I put him with the Karl Anthony Towns taco. And my taco went in the trash real quick. But that's okay, though, because I redeemed myself by taking Cade Cunningham's taco, which was 3.5 assists. Took the over, obviously. So if you didn't take the over on Cade Cunningham's assist at 3.5, what are you doing in life? What are you doing? I took it with Andrew Wiggins over 1.5 3-point makes. Redeemed myself. Maxed it out. $25 on it. Powered, of course. We go hard around here. We power. And ended up making up for that trash taco. That taco that I wasted. It went right in the trash with that Karl Anthony Towns prop. Thanks, Mitchell Robinson, you jerk. So yeah, there's no locks. That's my point there. Jojo Rabbit, let's go. Chill Robots is in the building. Yo, 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 yo. I got them all the yos. Todd, what's happening to you? Good morning. He says he looks forward to his days off, which are Wednesdays and Thursdays, so that he can be here. With the schedule tonight, I hope to find a few wins. Let's do this. Listen, there's a lot of games, a lot of players, and a lot of props that we need to talk about. Okay? Everyday Fantasy says, good morning, everybody. Let's get to the smart plays for tonight. Big ups to CJ. Appreciate you being here. Thank you so much. Don Smith says, okay, CJ, we might have to dig a little deeper. Could you give us some solid examples? Dig a little deeper. We dug pretty deep yesterday. Listen, sometimes you could research till you're blue in the face. The players have to get out there and do their job. Mitchell Robinson being a key example. Dug into that one pretty damn deep. But Mitchell Robinson's foul trouble, you can't research that. Sorry. That's just the break sometime. We are gambling on human beings playing sports, folks. There's going to be some risk involved, my man. I hate foul trouble. I hate blowouts. And I hate injuries. Those are 3 of the things that I hate the most. When taking overs, that is. When taking overs. Mark H., what's up to you? Desmond's back up in the building. Let's get it. Aaron Rodgers back up in here. Love to see it. Yeah, Aaron. There was a couple of things that you said stay away from that it ended up hitting. Diallo's first half fantasy points did not work out. His second half fantasy points were way better. And he ended up crushing that 5 rebound prop as well. And ended up seeing some run late in the game. That whole game was weird. That Detroit Golden State game, which is why I said try to stick to the first half only plays there. Trill Fate says he cashed on both Cade and Curry unders. Did you take the under on Cade's points? I'm assuming. Hopefully. I don't know. Hopefully you didn't take the under on his assists, because that would have been silly. Anthony says, this beat go hard. Yes, it does. I love that beat, by the way. Love the intro music. Just sets the vibe, right? Sets the tone for the day. It's uplifting. It's energetic. It's positive. Got a little reggae in there, a little hip hop, a little rock, a little everything. It's a little bit of everything. I think everybody can get down with that beat, right? Say day. Let's get it. Big slate. We're going to get it, man. We're definitely going to get it. SW843 says, let's go. Isaac, good to see you back up in here again. Yes, that Andrew Wiggins 3-point make prop was the one. It was the one that helped me cash late last night. Carlos says, not one hit for me last night. Ouch. So all your tacos, the Karl Anthony Towns taco, the CSGO taco that they released late 2 days ago or whenever it was, And the Cade Cunningham taco, no tacos for you? Nothing hit? That's unfortunate, man. Gotta try to find a way to cash in on those tacos. Bruiser says, about to be a lot of great picks. I love that. Putting that positive energy, positive vibes out there already for the live stream. Love it, love it. Juan Julio, good morning to all them. Tacos were nice. Ate good yesterday thanks to CJ's research and the squad. Yeah, he's talking about the Discord, Patreon crew. We get down in there, folks. We get down with the research. Listen, if you're just sitting back on the sidelines, if you're part of Patreon, you're just sitting back on the sidelines, like waiting to get fed, probably not, the way to go about it. If you're engaged and you're active and you're part of the community, there's winning picks being shared all day long. Research being done all day long. It's not just me, it's members of the community. Those are the types of community members that I love, the ones that are down there rolling up their sleeves, getting in the mud, getting dirty in the stats, helping others win. That's what we're trying to do, build a community. I'm not trying to build a pick factory where I just ship out picks every day. I do that. I'll put some picks out there, some well-researched picks out there, but I'm trying to build a community of like soldiers who are digging into the stats soldiers, stats savages. That's what we want. We want people in there who are doing the research and just helping the community just thrive and flourish, man. That's what I'm looking for. People like that. So yes, Mac B, let's run those likes up. Run the likes up. We've been crushing 100 likes. Listen, I'm going to have to move the bar up to like 149.5 likes. And I'm taking the over because I have complete and utter faith in all of you. Osmosis Jones says, Prop God Curry, I missed by one, but we're back. Yes, we're back. Blaze to the Sky Media Group, what's good with you? Thanks for being here. Boston 617, good morning. It's been a while. Yes, it has been a while. Where have you been, my friend? Where have you been? It's time to get this money. 13 games today. Contract killer, not so good last night. Randall went under on rebounds. Yeah, I think Randall ended up with exactly 9 boards. Ouch. Ouch. Neville's in here. Blood Fire. Wagwan CJ. Am I saying that right? I got to work on it. I got to work on my pronunciation. Elijah, what's up to you? Matthew Farb, what's happening? Clips, everyone get on that Kyrie assist over and points before it goes up. We'll talk about some of those. I'm sure Kyrie's going to be a very popular play amongst the community today. I'm sure he will be. So let's keep it quiet. We'll talk about it. We'll talk about it. Yeah, Mitchell Robinson started on fire and then sold for sure. Absolutely. That's exactly what happened. My man was crushing in the first quarter, then found himself in foul trouble second, third, and fourth quarter. Yeah, the locks are at Home Depot, my friend. That's the only place you're going to find locks, in fact. Let's see what else you guys are talking about up in here. What else are you guys talking about? Trying to get to everybody, trying to show the love, spread the love around here. Man, a lot of folks in here. Y'all are ready to go. I love the energy, man. What's up, young O? Let's make some money today, man. Wiggy's in the building. Good morning to you. Joaquin, rise and grind. Love the energy. Assam, Ibrahim, let's get this bread. Yeah, we're going to put some butter on that bread. How about that? Robert, good to see you as well. Abrar Malik, new here, ready to make this bread. Thanks for being here, man. Hopefully you've liked, you've subscribed, and maybe you even want to ring that bell and make sure that notifications are turned on so you don't miss any of my live streams when I go live. Omarion, I ain't win none yesterday. Well, listen, we got a new day today. Let's leave yesterday behind us. Let's try to focus on today. Lots of props to talk about. Got to have that next game mentality like you hear about these athletes talking about. Same thing for us. We're like cyber athletes here trying to find these winning picks. So we got to have a short-term memory, man. Alejandro, first time on the stream. I'm hyped. Love to see you, Alejandro. Again, hopefully you're subscribed and you've liked the stream. T. McGrew's up in the building. Alex is in here. We'll talk about some of the specific picks and plays that you guys are liking toward the end of the show. In the beginning, I'll just go through some stuff that's standing out to me. We'll break that all down, go over the points, the rebounds, the assists, the three-point makes, the free throw makes. All right. Davis, good to see you. Some Bucks picks. All right. We'll look at those Bucks picks. I got your sixes in the building. Yeah, too much foul trouble for Mitchell Robinson, man. That's the most devastating part about it all, is that Mitchell Robinson was showing such great potential. It looked like it was going to be an easy night for Mitchell Robinson in those 26 fantasy points, but again, could not keep his hands to himself. Could not keep his hands to himself. Tony's liking the CSGO channel in the Discord. Good to hear that. Captain Shango, what's up? What's up? Donato says, that taco screwed me yesterday. Time to make up for it today. Yeah, Alex, we'll talk about Darius Garland for sure. For sure. Robert, good morning. Kyle's up in here. Discord squad, stand up. Love to see it. Member of our Patreon group. Love to see it, Kyle. Thanks for being here. Smash the like button for the prop god. All right. I'll take that compliment. Thank you. Good morning to Elijah Santiago. Good to see you. Caden, let's go. Love it. Papiga's back. Where you been, Papiga? Ain't seen you in a minute. I ain't seen you in a while, Papiga. Good to see you, man. Daniel Hernandez, good morning to you. George is up in here. Mamba mentality, absolutely. Mamba mentality all day long. Clayton, Master Yoda is back in the building. Where you been at, Master Yoda? You on some Jedi training or something, my friend? Reggie Myers is here. Big Booty Lowry is back tonight. Oh, Lord. Jesus, help us. David Reeves is in the building. He's talking about the refs blowing the whistle way too much last night. Preddy Ray's in here. Wes, Sadiq Bey gets a major downgrade in my book. Dude was a bum last night. Yeah, Sadiq Bey's been frustrating, man. Since the Pistons have gotten their whole squad healthy again, Sadiq Bey's kind of been off the radar for me. I haven't been playing him. All right. Make sure you got yourself something to write with. Make sure you're taking some notes. It might be helpful to jot down a little bit of notes, to scribble down some notes. I'm just saying, we're going to have a lot to talk about right now. Let's get down to it. Starting things off here, my Orlando Magic versus the Philadelphia 76ers, 213.5 implied point total. 12-point spread, obviously in favor of the Philadelphia 76ers. For the Magic, got to keep an eye on Wendell Carter Jr.'s status. Is he going to be in or out? We don't know just yet. I hope he's in, so that him and Robin Lopez can try and do their best work against Joel Embiid on the other side of this game. Michael Carter-Williams, Jonathan Isaac, Etuan Moore, and Markelle Fultz all out for Orlando. But there's rumors, there's rumblings that Isaac and Fultz will be back here soon for Orlando. So I'm looking to see what those guys are going to look like when they get back in the lineup. For the 76ers, probably the biggest injury news is going to be Danny Green, Tybal, Shake Milton. Their backcourt still a little thin behind the likes of both Maxey and Curry. So we'll have to see how this goes. So for me, this game here with a 12-point spread is going to be a first half only play for me. If you're wanting to take overs, first half only play from this game. That's all I'm looking at on this one, because Blowout City seems to be on the horizon for my Orlando Magic, unfortunately. 7 p.m. also brings us the Brooklyn Nets at the Washington Wizards. Look at the total on this game, okay? 234.5 points. Juicy. 234.5 points. Gotta love that. And the spread, just 1 point. Meaning, hopefully, if the Vegas lines makers are doing a good job today, this game should stay close and competitive. No Kevin Durant for Brooklyn, no Millsap, no Joe Harris. Nick Claxton, game time decision. Looking at the Washington side of things, no real big injury news there. They're pretty much running at full strength with the likes of Dinwiddie, Beal, KCP, Kuzma, and Gafford in their starting lineup. This will be a fun game. This will be a game I think that is worth targeting some overs from. Gotta love what you're seeing there. All right, 7:30 p.m. also brings us the Portland Trailblazers at the Miami Heat, 212.5 points, 10-point spread. Pretty big spread on this one. So for me, probably going to have to put this one in the first half only bucket. I don't know that I feel completely comfortable taking a full game over on anyone from this game with the spread being 10 points. It could get out of hand. I'm just saying. For Portland, the biggest one to keep an eye out on is Norman Powell. He is a game time decision. We got Williams, Lillard, Nance Jr., and Zeller already ruled out. CJ McCollum is back. For those of you who weren't aware, CJ McCollum is back for Portland. I don't think he's 100% yet, but he's back, okay? Over on the Miami Heat side of things, no Morris, no Oladipo, no Okpala, and no Kyle Lowry. That's the big one. Kyle Lowry is out. So not a very high total, and the spread being 10 points. I got to go first half only on that one. That's where I'm going to place that game. 7:30 p.m., Charlotte at Boston. Another game that looks to be fun. We got some revenge narratives here. We've got former Boston Celtic Gordon Hayward, now a member of the Charlotte Hornets. We got former Boston Celtic Terry Rozier. Now he's a member of the Charlotte Hornets. What's going to happen in this game? Got some interesting little storylines here. Keep an eye on Marcus Smart for Boston. Game time decision for him. Not sure if he's going to be in or out just yet. But 219.5 points, 3.5 point spread. I think this game is just fine. It's fine for full game formats. If you want to take any overs in a full game situation, that would be a good one. 7:30 p.m., Minnesota Timberwolves at the Atlanta Hawks. Another one. Eye-opening total here. 236 implied points. There will be buckets. People will be getting buckets in this game. All right. It's a 1.5 point spread. We know Minnesota is on the second leg, the second half of a back-to-back they played last night, obviously, against the New York Knicks. So how will that impact things? I don't know. We'll have to wait and see. Some of the injury news to keep an eye out on, most of it's on the Atlanta side. Clint Capella obviously being the biggest one. We've also got my man Bogey, Mr. Bogdan Bogdanovic. Is he going to be in or not? When Bogdanovic was out last game, my man Kevin Huerter was jacking up some shots. Now listen, he shot a pretty poor percentage, but he did end up hitting his point prop. But needless to say, he had the green light, and he was not afraid to shoot that thing. So keep an eye on both Capella and Bogdanovic from this game, but the total and the spread looking lovely from that one. 8 p.m. also brings us the Memphis Grizzlies at the Milwaukee Bucks. This should be another fun game. Another fun game. 229-point total, 5.5 point spread in favor of the Milwaukee Bucks here. We got to keep an eye on Drew Holiday. Is he in or out? Currently, game time decision. Dylan Brooks already ruled out for Memphis. So this will definitely be one that I'll be taking some props from as well. Moving on to the other 8 o'clock game, the Cleveland Cavaliers at the Chicago Bulls. The Bulls backcourt quite thin. We'll say quite thin. And what I mean by that is no Lonzo Ball, no Zach LaVine. Those are obviously the two biggest pieces of injury news. On the other side, we got to look at Rajon Rondo. Not a real big, impactful piece of injury news. He is a backup for the Cavs. So they should be able to run Darius Garland and Okoro out there. Rondo's not super impactful, but 214.5 point total, 2.5 point spread. So this game should stay close. Fine for taking any kind of full game props. Full game props if you want to take overs. 8:30 p.m. brings us the Oklahoma City Thunder at the San Antonio Spurs. 221-point total. Nice total from this game. 7.5 point spread. It's starting to kind of get in the danger zone for me at 7.5 points. Hopefully it stays close and competitive. Hopefully it does. Oklahoma City has shown some fight here lately. They put up a good fight the other night against the Brooklyn Nets not too long ago. So if they can hang with the Nets, maybe they hang with the Spurs, and this game stretches into 4 quarters for the starters. Keep an eye on Jakob Poeltl, starting center for the San Antonio Spurs. He is a game-time decision. Had a monster game against the Phoenix Suns the last time he took the floor. My man Poeltl crushed his rebound prop of 8.5. Ended up taking the over the other night, and it did me really well. So 221 points, but a 7.5 point spread. If Poeltl's in, I think this game does end up staying a little bit closer than the 7.5 point spread seems to indicate. 8:30 p.m. also brings us the Toronto Raptors at the Dallas Mavericks. 207 points, very low total here. This game is probably going to have a snail's pace. Very slow-paced game. Not a lot of points being scored by these two teams, according to Vegas line makers. 4.5 point spread, though, so it should stay close and competitive. Looking at the Toronto injury news, the biggest one is going to be Gary Trent Jr. Is he in or out right now? We don't know. Game time decision. We got Dragic, Birch, and Johnson already ruled out. Looking at the Dallas Mavericks side of things, we've got Omarui, Knight, Marjanovic, Kleber, and Bullock, all game time decisions. So Kleber would probably be a big one. He has been starting for Dallas, so if he's out, maybe your man Dwight Powell slides in to the starting lineup. But yeah, this one, low total, and the spread being just 4 points. So might be a bit of a snooze fest. Might be a boring game. Houston Rockets at the Utah Jazz. Blowout city alert, blowout city alert, blowout city alert. 231 points. Love the total here, but it is a 13-point spread. So for you folks keeping track at home, it's going to be a first half only kind of game for me. Not interested in playing anybody from this game in a full game format. Not for overs anyway. Now, if you want to take the unders on somebody because you think the game's going to blow out and they will not see their full complement of minutes, I'm okay with that strategy too. But if you want to take overs, keep it to a first half only format. Now, the sad news from this game is that we will not have Donovan Spider Mitchell in the lineup. So it looks like Jordan Clarkson might be filling in for him at the 2 guard spot. Also out, Hassan Whiteside, the backup center for Utah. I played Rudy Gobert over fantasy points the other night against the Lakers. Ended up having a pretty big game. I think this is another great spot for Rudy Gobert versus Houston, one of the worst teams in the league at defending opposing centers. But again, first half only. 10 p.m., Los Angeles Clippers at the Denver Nuggets, 213.5 point total. Not a great total, but also not the worst total we've seen on the board today, right? 7.5 point spread here. We got Kawhi Leonard. I don't know why he's a game time decision. Just rule him out. He's not playing. Paul George also not playing. Luke Kennard, though, he is a GTD. We'll have to keep an eye out on Luke Kennard, see if he's in or not. Over on the Denver side, Austin Rivers, also a game time decision. No Murray, Porter, Kankar, and Green. They are all out. Denver just made a trade last night, by the way. I don't know if you guys saw that. Bol finally getting shipped out. He's heading to Boston, as is Dozier, who is also heading to Boston. So they just shipped out a couple of pieces. I forget what Denver got in return in that trade. You guys might have to remind me, but Denver did pull off a trade finally, moving Bol. They had previously tried to do that, sending him to Detroit, but for some reason, the trade ended up getting canceled, but now Bol is officially out of there. So we'll have to keep an eye on Bol. Is he going to be the next Taco Fall for Boston, or is he actually going to be an impact player and be a part of their future plans? We'll have to wait and see. He's playing behind Robert Williams. Al Horford's not getting any younger, so we'll just have to keep an eye on that one. Wednesday, 10 p.m. here, we got Detroit at Sacramento, 222.5 point total, 7-point spread in favor of the Sacramento Kings. Detroit, another team coming off of a back-to-back, second leg of a back-to-back. Obviously, they played Golden State last night. So maybe they're a little fatigued. Maybe they're a little tired for this game. We'll have to wait and see. Hayes and Grant, both game time decisions. I don't think Jeremy Grant's going to be playing. I don't think he's going to be playing. On the Sacramento side, Woodard, not very impactful. But the one that is big news is Tyrese Halliburton is out for Sacramento. No Ty Halliburton. Also saw a trade proposal that was dangled out there by Detroit. Apparently they were ready to send Saddiq Bey, Jeremy Grant, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-round pick over to Philadelphia for Ben Simmons. And the 76ers shot that down. What do you guys think? Would you send Bey, Jeremy Grant, Kelly Olynyk, and a first-rounder over to Philadelphia for Ben Simmons? Who wins that trade? Detroit or Philadelphia? I don't know. Ben Simmons is a Piston. That would be very interesting. Him and Cade Cunningham, can they play together? I don't know. Don't know if I love the fit. Another guy that's been dangled out in trade rumors is De'Aaron Fox. Mentioned in a trade for Ben Simmons, sending him to Philly. That would be a great combo. De'Aaron Fox and Joel Embiid would be a great duo. I love that. I wish that would happen. De'Aaron Fox was also dangled out there for somebody else this morning. I posted it in Discord. Who was it? De'Aaron Fox was also tied up in another trade scenario of some kind. Anyway, the last game of the night, the Indiana Pacers at the Los Angeles Lakers, 225.5 point total, 5-point spread. So this game's got a nice, healthy total. Spread of 5, that's also looking healthy, should stay close and competitive. Keep an eye on the Indiana side. Malcolm Brogdon being out has been a great thing for Karis LeVert. And the matchup against the Lakers backcourt would also be a great thing for Karis LeVert. If Brogdon is in, I'm backing off of LeVert a little bit. Brogdon's out, Karis LeVert's going to go ham. He's going to go ham. Jeremy Lamb, speaking of Lamb, game time decision. We got to keep an eye out on him. No McConnell, Warren Anderson, or Miles Turner. Miles Turner is a big piece of injury news. With Turner out, Sabonis slides over to the center spot. He'll be matched up against Dwight Howard as Anthony Davis continues to sit for Los Angeles. Carmelo Anthony, also a game time decision. So I'm liking the total on this game, liking the spread as well. It's looking like a good one. That's right. De'Aaron Fox to Indiana for Sabonis. That was the trade. So that was kind of weird because Indiana's already got Brogdon and LeVert. What do they want Fox for? And the Sacramento Kings are already pretty loaded in the front court with Rashawn Holmes, with Metu, with your boy Marvin Bagley III, with Len. I mean, they got a whole bunch of big guys. What in the world would they want with Domantas Sabonis? Now, obviously, he's a lot better big guy than any of the big guys I just named for Sacramento, but it seems like both teams are already loaded up at the guard spot, if you're Indiana, and Sacramento's loaded up in their front court. Not with anybody great, not with anybody special or game-changing, But just a weird trade. But Tyrese Halliburton and Domantas Sabonis, maybe throw a little Harrison Barnes in there. I mean, you got a nice little group of young players. Tristan Thompson, there you go. There's another one. I mean, like Sacramento's got enough big guys, right? Kind of weird. Anyway, there's your NBA slate. There's some blowouts to definitely be on the lookout for, but a lot of good games tonight, folks. A lot of good spots that I think make some sense for us to target some overs in full game formats, maybe some overs in first half only formats. So let's go ahead, refresh the Action Labs projection tool here. We will head on over to the points category, and we'll start by looking at some of the high hit rate point scores. Appreciate everybody rocking with me this morning. Thank you for dropping a like on the stream if you haven't yet. Thank you. I'm staying hydrated. Hopefully you are too. Let's start things off here with some of the high hit rate point scores. The first guy that's popping up on the list here is one that I don't know if I necessarily trust a whole lot, but the reason I'm going to talk about him is because his number is super low today. Super low. Reggie Jackson at 15.5 points. Do we trust him? He's at 15.5 on most of your sports books out there, but he's at just 14 points today. I don't know that I absolutely trust this guy. Now, the matchup against Denver on paper probably looks like a good one. 14 points seems doable, though. Let's go ahead and take a look at this prop a little bit closer here. We'll start by looking at the last 7 games, defense versus position. I've been using this tool more and more when doing my player prop research, and it has helped. It really has helped. So totally free. Just go out to Google, search for FanDuel NBA defense versus position fantasy pros, something like that, and you'll be able to access this. So let's go to the point guard position. We'll go look at the Denver Nuggets and see how many points per game they give up to opposing point guards. So we scroll down a little bit. Denver giving up about 20.8. Reggie Jackson needs 14 or more. You know, ideally, he goes over 14 with like 15 points, right? So Denver giving up over 20, nearly 21 points per game. Let's take a look at the projection here for Reggie Jackson. And we talked about it in some of the shows in the past, looking for value or line shopping in this case. So the reason we're talking Reggie Jackson is because he's at 14 on PrizePicks, but I'm seeing him at 15.5 out on your favorite sports books. And at 15.5 points, he is a betting favorite to go over 15.5 points. Now, something similar happened last night with Julius Randle. I saw him at 19 points on PrizePicks. I think he was at 20.5 out on the sports books. So I said, you know, I got to take a shot here. There's some value. I'm seeing some value here. Ended up taking the over on Randle. He ended up covering against Minnesota. So might we have a similar situation here with Reggie Jackson? I know his game logs are ugly. I know the matchup doesn't look like the greatest in the world. But when you see a player at 14 points on PrizePicks, but 15.5 out on 3 different sports books with some action, with some people actually betting the over, there's definite value here. And he's coming off of a 26-point game against Indiana. Okay, it's just something worth considering, something worth thinking about. So that's the first one. Reggie Jackson, seeing some value at just 14 points. Another guy who is kind of working his way back up to full speed, who is involved in a very high-scoring, close, and competitive game tonight, Bradley Beal. Bradley Beal. He sat out from January 9th to the 17th, so he missed a little bit of time. His first game back was against Philadelphia, but we know the Philadelphia backcourt, very tough against opposing guards defensively. He gets a much easier matchup tonight against Brooklyn in a game that, again, will be very high scoring and will stay close and competitive. I know some people are going to look at the revenge factor, the revenge narrative, and say, maybe we should go Spencer Dinwiddie. Now, you could. Now, a lot of these Spencer Dinwiddie numbers were with Bradley Beal out. Okay, so keep that in mind. He definitely receives a scoring uptick with Bradley Beal out, but Bradley Beal's back in. And maybe Dinwiddie looks to get his tonight against the Brooklyn Nets. Maybe there is some revenge factor, revenge narrative. But Bradley Beal at 23.5 points in the last 10 games, 80% hit rate. Now, if we look at the last 5 games here at 22.5 points, he's a point lower today on PrizePicks. He's got a 60% hit rate, so he's covered this in 3 out of 5 games. But he did not cover in his first game back, which was against a tough Philadelphia 76er squad. Maybe he gets right tonight against Brooklyn. Let's go take a look at this projection or this matchup rather, and then the projection for Bradley Beal. So Beal, obviously the shooting guard for Washington. Dinwiddie, more of your point guard, setting people up. But Beal does a little bit of everything. At least this season, he's taken on a little bit of everything. Now, Brooklyn's given up about 22.5 points per game. That puts them just outside the top 10, but very close to the top of the charts here. They're giving up a lot of points to opposing shooting guards in the last 7 games. So I think Bradley Beal's in play, especially coming off of a pretty bad performance. I think if Washington wants to stay close in this game, Bradley Beal's going to have to get some buckets. He's going to have to score against Brooklyn in order for this game to stay close. So I think Bradley Beal's going to get some shots up. I really do. Let's go ahead and look at the projections here for Beal. The action projection tools got Beal going for nearly 26 points, 25.8. That puts him over 22.5 by more than 3 points. So that's a strong start. Looking across the industry today, he's at 23.5 points. So maybe the 22.5 is just a little too low here. If these lines makers are putting it at 23.5, then they see 23 to 24 points in Bradley Beal's future tonight. Potentially. Nothing's a lock. We know nothing's ever guaranteed. But Bradley Beal's definitely a name to consider tonight. I think he's due for a little bit of a bounce back after a really bad first game back. Another guy to maybe consider from this game, Kentavious Caldwell-Pope at 11 points. He's been doing a lot better job of scoring lately, but don't be fooled. Don't be deceived by these game logs. Again, kind of like Spencer Dinwiddie, he received a scoring boost with Bradley Beal out of the lineup. So a few of these games in here, Bradley Beal was out. Now the first game back for Beal, KCP scored 14 points against Philadelphia, so he had himself a good game with Beal in the lineup. He's averaging 12.8 points per game over his last 5. At 11.5 points this season, he's covered in the last 10 games at an 80% hit rate. So things are looking pretty decent here for KCP. Now he's kind of the small forward for Washington. So we could go and find Brooklyn. They're giving up 22.3 points per game. That puts them right around the top 10 most points allowed over the last 7 games to opposing small forwards. We know KD will not be in there, so maybe it's an easier matchup for KCP without KD in the lineup. So he's maybe a name that's worth considering. There's going to be a lot of buckets in this game, a lot of points scored between these two teams. Caldwell-Pope, I got him projected for 11.8 points. Now, he's at 11 on PrizePicks, but 11.5 out on most of your sports books out there. At 11.5 points, people are taking the under on KCP, slightly under on KCP, which is why PrizePicks is probably taking liberties in bumping him down to 11. But over the course of this last 10 games, he's shown a pretty good hit rate at 11.5. So he might be one to consider as well. And we're going to talk about some other props because a lot of these guys have been crushing. Kyle Kuzma, do we think he's due for a bounce back game? It's been back-to-back games where he's failed to reach 18 or more points and cover his 17.5 point prop. Kyle Kuzma, potentially in a good spot here. We're going to have to dig in a little bit deeper and see what's up with Kuz. Obviously, he is the power forward for the Washington Wizards with Gafford playing the center position. So the Brooklyn Nets, 25.3 points per game given up to opposing power forwards over the last 7 games. That's the second most, the second highest. They're one of only 4 teams over the last 7 games giving up 25 points or more to power forwards. So do we think Kuzma, after a 2-game skid, a 2-game slump of him going under 17.5 points, has a real shot here of going over 17.5 against Brooklyn tonight, the team giving up the second most points to opposing power forwards? I think so. I think there's a good shot here that maybe Kuzma is in a bounce back spot. Let's go ahead and take a look at his projection using the action projection tool. They got him at 16.1. I'll tell you this, at 18.5 points on most of your sports books out there, one place does have him at 17.5. At 17.5, he's a big betting favorite right now, minus 140 odds to go over 17.5. So maybe Kuzma gets right here against a Brooklyn Nets squad that looks like a very juicy matchup for power forwards and points. That could be a good one. That could be a good one. Another guy that we're going to talk about, I don't know that I love him, again, for a full game prop, but maybe you take him in a first half only format, is this guy right here, Eric Gordon. No Donovan Mitchell tonight. Eric Gordon quietly at 13.5 points in the last 10 games has covered his prop in 70% of his contests. Now at 12.5 points, you can see what he's been doing over the last 5 games. Has covered 12.5 in 4 straight games. 4 straight games of covering 12.5 points. Not bad. Showing 31 point upside, in fact, against the San Antonio Spurs. So he's going to have probably Jordan Clarkson guarding him, potentially. We'll have to see how the matchups shake out, because you got Porter Jr., you got Green, and you got Gordon. They all kind of, I guess you could say, are all combo guards. I'd consider Gordon the most purest in terms of shooting guard out of the 3. So it'll be interesting to see how Utah matches up. But if they put Jordan Clarkson on Eric Gordon, you could see a lot of buckets being gotten by these teams. So let's look at the shooting guard spot and see how Utah matches up here. How many points are they giving up to opposing shooting guards over the last 7 games? We know Utah typically a pretty staunch defense, pretty stout, giving up about 19 points per game, which is the 5th fewest to opposing shooting guards. Now let's just say, for instance, that Porter Jr. is your point guard, Jalen Green's your shooting guard, and Eric Gordon, maybe he's more of your small forward. I don't think that's out of the question. We go down, we find the Utah Jazz and see how many points they're giving up to opposing small forwards, 22.4. And you can kind of see where they rank, right around the top 10 most points allowed to opposing small forwards. So again, it's going to come down to the matchup, but we know this game has a high blowout risk. So for me, it would probably be an Eric Gordon first half only play. So let's look at this a little bit closer. 12.5 points seems super low for this guy. Super low. I want to go see what his first half only point prop is looking like here on PrizePicks today. Maybe EG. EG is in play. He's riding that 4-game streak of covering his 12.5 full game points. So he's at 6.5. So he needs 7 first half points against Utah. Let's take a look at something here. We'll use StatMuse to help us out. Eric Gordon, first half points versus Jazz. Let's just see if we have anything that specific in here. So he has faced the Jazz 1 time this season. Now that was all the way back on October 28th. He had 5 first half points. So he came up a little bit short. Now, you could look at all of his other game logs here as a member of the Houston Rockets if you wanted to. These go all the way back to 2016, though. I don't know that you want to go that far back. Some of this information is very irrelevant. A much different team. So let's remove the Jazz from the equation. Let's just take a look at Eric Gordon's first half points lately and see what he's doing. Is he covering 6.5 or not? So looking at the last 5 games here, he's covered in 1, 2, just 2 out of 5. Now we go back 5 more games. He's covered in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. So he's got a 6 out of 10 hit rate over the last 10 games. 60%, not terrible. Not the worst hit rate in the world here. All right. And he's done it against some pretty good teams like the Miami Heat. Pretty tough opponent. Their backcourt. We know Kyle Lowry and company. Pretty tough team. Milwaukee, he had 9 against the Bucks. Chicago, when they're healthy, pretty tough backcourt. 10 against them in the first half. 17 against Brooklyn. So you can kind of get an idea. Consider the matchups here, of course, as you should. Dig a little deeper, as I always like to say. But maybe he's worth a look if you're wanting to play him in a first half only format. Maybe. Got to dig a little deeper, though. This is not to be the end-all, be-all of your player prop research. Again, I always try to stress to you guys, let this be the beginning. Let the ideas and the juices start flowing. After you leave this stream, go dig in a little bit deeper and then make your picks. You don't have to make them right now or anything. Yes, PrizePicks is doing points, rebounds, and assists, folks. I don't want to say anything. I knew about this. I didn't want to say anything. But PRA, points, rebounds, and assists are a real thing. We got a few of them. Not a ton, a few of them. I expect them to kind of just sprinkle a little bit of these in each day, and then eventually they'll probably ramp it all the way up. We're going to have to wait and see how this goes. And PrizePicks wants to see how this goes. But yeah, PRA, points, rebounds, and assists are a thing. So no more losing because a guy has 4 and 5 turnovers, right? We don't have to worry about that with PRA. We'll talk about that a little bit more. Let's focus on the points, and then we'll get to that. Any other point props standing out? Maybe Christian Wood at 18.5 points. He's covered 18.5 in 70% of his games. But for me, again, this is going to be a first half only play. He's at 17.5 on PrizePicks today. So if you're looking to take some Christian Wood points props, stick to a first half only format. All right. Another guy worth considering, Darius Garland of the Cleveland Cavaliers. At 19.5 points in his last 10 games, a 70% hit rate. We're getting him at 18.5 today, folks. And he's going up against the Chicago Bulls. Do you think this game stays close and competitive? I don't know. It could get out of hand with Chicago being so shorthanded. So if you're scared of the blowout, don't you worry. You can take a first half only on this one. But Garland has been balling 32, 27, and 22 points in his last 3 games. Facing off against a Chicago Bulls backcourt of Kobe White and Ayo? Is that how you say his name? Ayo? I don't know. I'm not really worried about the matchup here for Darius Garland. So we go look at the point guard position, find the Chicago Bulls. They're giving up over 26 points per game to opposing point guards in the last 7 games. That's the 6th most. Very good matchup here for Darius Garland to keep things rolling at 18.5 points. So I think Darius Garland definitely in play in first half and in full game formats. Pulling up a projection here for Garland, got him going for 20.8 points. Now we're looking at 3 different sites, 3 different books at 19.5 points. I'm seeing people slap the over on Darius Garland at 19.5. So at 18.5, it's definitely in play for an over. Love this spot here for Garland in this matchup against the Chicago Bulls. All right, so those are some points props to consider. Let's switch it up. You guys are all on fire. You guys are all excited about PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. But we'll get to those. Hold your horses, folks. Darius Garland, though, looking like a good play. You guys are agreeing? You think Darius Garland's in a good spot? Absolutely. I think Darius Garland is in a great spot. I'm glad you guys are riding with Darius Garland. So yeah, fantasy points, like we talked about, kind of a kick in the nuts whenever a guy turns the ball over 4 or 5 times, right? Kind of sucks. So you don't have to worry about that with PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. That is an advantage. Of PRA. No turnovers, all right? So we talked a lot about points. Let's go ahead and talk about some rebound props. There's a lot to talk about today, guys. So we're going to try and keep things moving so I can get to as many of your questions toward the end of the show as possible. Man, we're already 49 minutes in. I say it all the time. Time flies when we're having fun around here. All right, looking at rebound props, Kyle Kuzma at 9.5 boards has covered his rebound prop of 9.5 in 80% of his last 10 games. That's 8 out of 10. We look at the last 5 games, he's gone 4 out of 5, also an 80% hit rate. What stands out to me, he's averaging 13 rebounds per game over the last 5 games, which is 4 more rebounds than his line of 9 rebounds today. He even pulled in 16 boards against Philadelphia last game. So I think Kyle Kuzma could be one to consider against the Brooklyn Nets. Let's go to the power forward position. Let's go to rebounds. Let's find Brooklyn. Brooklyn giving up, wow. Tough matchup on paper. Brooklyn giving up the 3rd fewest rebounds to opposing power forwards, less than 9 rebounds per game. The 3rd toughest matchup here for power forwards in the rebound prop category. So maybe that's why Kyle Kuzma's down at 9 rebounds. Let's get a projection for him. We'll flip this over to rebounds. We'll go Kyle Kuzma. I got him projected for 8. He is at 9.5 on all your books, but at 9.5, everyone's betting the under on Kyle Kuzma. They don't think he's going to come up with at least 10 rebounds tonight. So maybe he pulls in 9 boards and you end up in a push here. But the numbers for Kyle Kuzma over the last 10 games have looked very good. He's showing a great ability, great form when it comes to rebounding the basketball. But the matchup on paper is difficult against Brooklyn. Another guy to maybe consider is his teammate, Bradley Beal. We don't really talk a lot about point guards, shooting guards, and rebounds. But Beal at 4.5 boards has covered 4.5 in 70% of his last 10 games. He is at 4 rebounds today. We could see over the last 5 games, 80% hit rate there. So he's actually showing better rebounding form over the last 5 games than versus the last 10 games. Now, his first game back after a little bit of a layoff, he pulled in 5 boards against Philly. Pretty tough team. So let's go ahead and take a look at the matchup here. Bradley Beal, the shooting guard for Washington. We're going to go to the rebound category. Brooklyn giving up the first fewest rebounds per game to opposing shooting guards, which is probably why Beal is not at 4.5 and he's been bumped down, rounded down to 4. Let's go pull a projection for Beal. Despite the high hit rates, people are betting the under on Bradley Beal at 4.5 boards, minus 145, minus 130 odds to go under. But I do have him projected for 4.6, so maybe you take the over on 4 and he ends up in a tie or a push situation. That's probably how I would approach it. When you get a number at like 4.5 and it's been rounded down to 4, I would still lean toward the over, but know that there's a very real chance that maybe you end up in a push situation. Maybe you tie at 4 rebounds. Who else are we looking at here? We talked about Darius Garland points looking very good. We're getting a whole point of value on Darius Garland points. I think that's a great way to go if you want to play Garland. I don't see him up on the board here for rebounds, but at 3.5 boards over the last 10 games, 70% hit rate for Garland there. So you could take some Darius Garland rebounds as well. So the fact that we're liking him for points and we're liking him for rebounds, maybe we like his fantasy score. I think he's been doing a good job at hitting his fantasy point prop as well. And we talked Reggie Jackson earlier. He's another guy with a pretty low rebound number today, 2.5 rebounds, but he's covered it in 70% of his games. I'm not seeing him up on the PrizePicks board, but if you could get him somewhere else and you want to play the Reggie Jackson 2.5 rebound prop, I can't be mad at you at a 70% hit rate over the last 10 games. Here's another guy who just seems to keep getting it done on the boards. Jaylen Brown, pretty good hit rate for him over the last 10 games. 7 out of his last 10 games, he's covered 6.5 rebounds. We're getting him at 6 today on PrizePicks. He's averaging 7.4 boards over the last 5 games. Faces the Charlotte Hornets tonight. So let's look at this matchup here for Jaylen Brown. Jaylen Brown, small forward for Boston or the shooting guard? It depends. We're waiting on Marcus Smart news. We'll call him a shooting guard. We'll actually look at both wing spots. How about that? I think that'll be a good way to approach it. Charlotte versus shooting guards in the rebound department, giving up about 5.8 boards. So that would be pretty much every rebound needs to go Jaylen Brown's way at the shooting guard spot. Looking at the small forward position, a lot more rebounds given up to opposing small forwards than shooting guards. So maybe Brown benefits from this as well. They're giving up nearly 11 rebounds. They're the only team giving up double-digit rebounds to opposing small forwards over the last 7 games. So very good matchup here for small forwards, Boston Celtics small forwards versus the Charlotte Hornets. So I think Jaylen Brown would probably be a beneficiary of this number. Let's go pull a projection up for Brown. Got him projected for 7 boards, which is obviously 1 rebound higher than where he's at 6. Now at 6.5 rebounds on 3 different sites, 3 different books, strong odds, strong betting favorite to go under 6.5 boards, minus 155 betting favorite to go under, which is why we're getting him at 6 instead of 6.5. So the action projection tool liking the over on Jaylen Brown's rebounds. Another guy that's been getting to it as far as pulling in rebounds, Bobby Portis. He's going up against Memphis tonight. Bobby Portis showing great rebounding form over the last 5 games. He's at 8.5 boards on most of the books tonight. Now at 8.5 rebounds over his last 10 games, 70% of those games he has covered 8.5. He's at 9 on PrizePicks. At 9 rebounds over the last 5 games, covered in 80% of those. At 11 rebound per game average. Showing good rebounding against the likes of the Hawks, the Raptors, the Hornets, and another game against the Hornets. So let's take a look at the matchup tonight. He's going up against Memphis. He is the center for the Milwaukee Bucks. We go find the Memphis Grizzlies. And it looks like a very difficult matchup here. They're giving up the 6th fewest rebounds per game to opposing centers. So do we take the under on Bobby Portis tonight? It would be hard. It would be hard for me to do so. They are giving up just 12.3 boards to opposing centers. So let's pull a projection up for Portis. Got him projected for 10.4 boards. 10.4, obviously more than 9 rebounds, which is where he's at on PrizePicks. 9.5 out on a couple of different books, but at 9.5, minus 140 betting favorite to go under 9, which is why we're getting him at 9 here. So again, for me, when they round these props down to like 9, I would still be inclined to take the over on Bobby Portis and hope for like a push or tie situation, which wouldn't be the worst thing in the world, right? But, it's better to win cleanly than it is to tie. Good morning to you, Said. Thanks for joining me this morning. Dim Dogs is saying that Kuzma rebounds are a lock. Oh, Lord, here we go. Using that L word again. My, oh, my. Dub K says, CJ, you made me lose money yesterday. Love it. That's a good start. Love comments like that. I took the over on you wearing a hat. It had a 98% hit rate. Wow. That totally took a different turn. I thought I was gonna be catching some hate here from WK123, but actually he made me laugh a little bit. That's right. My hit rate for wearing a hat, pretty damn high, right? But so was Jared Vanderbilt's hit rate over his points, and I don't think he covered either. There are no locks, folks. That's like saying Santa Claus is real and the Easter Bunny shows up and the Tooth Fairy, all that stuff. Game log watching with the cute PrizePicks charts and calling it locks. That's what I'm saying, man. That's what I'm saying. Santa's real? Oh, might be. Maybe Santa is real. Let's take a look at some assist props. Enough with the rebounds. We'll move it on over to the dime droppers. Let's see who's getting it done when it comes to dropping some assists. Now, Gordon Hayward's not up on the board, but if you could get Gordon Hayward on your favorite prop site, maybe it's not up on PrizePicks, but you can get it somewhere else. Gordon Hayward at 2.5 assists, 80% hit rate. Pretty darn good hit rate for Gordon Hayward at 2.5 dimes. Bradley Beal's another one. We've talked about Bradley Beal's points a little bit. We've talked about his rebounds a little bit. All things Bradley Beal might be in play, which means maybe we should be thinking about his fantasy score a little bit too. At 5.5 assists, though, 70% of his last 10 games, he has covered 5.5 dimes. We look at the last 5, and it's at 80%. He's averaging 6.4 assists. And you see his first game back, which was against Philadelphia, at 5.5 dimes. He got it done. He covered with 6 assists. It was a sweat. He barely got it done, but he got it done nonetheless. So another hit there for Bradley Beal. Do you think Bradley Beal can get both his assist prop covered and his points prop in the same game? The last game he went under on points and he went over on assists. But I think he's going to have to get more aggressive tonight and look to score the basketball in order for this game to stay close for Washington. That's going to be kind of my MO when it comes to Bradley Beal and the Wizards tonight. Beal's going to have to be scoring to keep this game close. So we're going to go to the assist category. We're going to go find the Brooklyn Nets. Nets giving up about 4.8 assists, which kind of puts them toward the top, right? Toward the top. Not a bad matchup here. I know 4.8, not as much as 5. We'd like this number to be higher, at like 6.5, like Minnesota's given up. But still, in a game that's going to be high scoring, fast paced, I think there's a chance for Bradley Beal to potentially cover this assist prop. So let's switch it over here to the assist category. We'll type in Beal's name. I got him projected for 5.3 dimes. Now we're seeing him at 5.5 on 3 different books. Odds as high as minus 145 to go over 5.5 assists. So what's your favorite way to play Beal today? Points? Maybe the rebounds? Maybe the assists? Or if you're liking all 3, maybe you play the points, rebounds, and assists prop. Something new that's being offered on PrizePicks. I don't know if he's up on the board for PRA, but that could be a good way to go. Or you can take his fantasy score if you think that Bradley Beal's really going to be that dude tonight. But his assist prop, not looking too shabby. Neither is Eric Gordon. We talked about Eric Gordon's points. This game potentially could blow out. Eric Gordon's assists at 2.5 over the last 10 games, 70% hit rate. Now, I don't know, man. Over the last 5 games, it's been a little more shaky here. So I'm probably going to get off of this one just based on the hit rates, but I'll quickly pull up a projection. The last 10 were looking good. I got Eric Gordon projected for 3.5 dimes, -130 over, -140 over. But it's been shaky over the last 5 games. All right. Tough matchup against Utah. I think I like his points more than I like his assists. We'll leave it at that. Other guys maybe worth considering. We don't have Mason Plumlee's assist up on the board, but Mason Plumlee, low key at 2.5 assists, has been getting the job done. 70% of the games that he's played in the last 10 games, he has gone over 2.5 assists. Another guy, Pascal Siakam, is he up on the board? Pascal Siakam is on the board. He's going up against Dallas today. Pascal Siakam at 5.5 assists has covered in 70% of his last 10 games. Now, Siakam at 5 assists here has gone over 5 dimes in 4 of 5 games, an 80% hit rate. I mean, look at the upside from this guy. 7 assists versus New Orleans, 7 against Phoenix, 10 against Milwaukee, 10 against Miami. He's been dropping dimes left and right here, people. Left and right. So maybe Siakam gets it done again. What do we call Siakam for Toronto? Maybe the center / power forward, kind of plays both positions. Looking at the matchup here against Dallas. Dallas giving up just 2.4 dimes over the last 7 games. That is the 3rd fewest. Very difficult matchup if Siakam is slotted in at the center position. We go find Dallas in terms of assists given up to power forwards. Gets a little bit better. A little bit better. Giving up 3.4. So not the sexiest looking matchup here on paper against the Dallas Mavericks. They're not giving up a whole lot of dimes. But Siakam obviously showing upside here in the assist department, showing that he could get it done even against the most tough teams like Miami, Milwaukee, Phoenix. Those are some tough squads. Now at 5 assists, I got him projected at 5.1, slightly more than 5. He's at 5.5 on a couple of different books. They both have him as betting favorites to go under, -135 odds to go under. But it's hard to argue here with these high assist rates. What I will warn you is that this game does look like it's going to be a very slow-paced game. Very slow-paced game. Not a whole lot of points projected to be scored. So it'll be harder for a guy like Siakam to rack up dimes with the totals being so low. Okay? Could be a difficult night for Siakam in the assist department based on what we're seeing on the game total and the fact that both of these teams play at a pretty slow pace. Some other names to possibly consider. We talked about Terry Rozier against his former team, the Boston Celtics, tonight. Rozier's at 3.5 assists. He's been kind of getting it done, doing a little bit of everything lately too. So his fantasy points props have been good. His assist props have been good over the last couple games, 6 and 7 dimes respectively. Now we look at the last 10 games, 70% of those games, 7 out of 10, he has gone over 3.5 assists. He's got a hot streak of 5 straight games going right here. Going over 3.5 assists. Some of them have been a little bit of a sweat. Against Milwaukee, he had 4. And then against Philadelphia, he had 4. But the last 2 games, 6 and 7 respectively, very good. It's been very good here for Terry Rozier. Let's go to the shooting guard spot. We'll look at the assist category for Boston. They're giving up nearly 5 dimes per game to opposing shooting guards. Now I want to also look at the point guard spot just for fun. I like looking at both of the backcourt spots. Boston giving up just 5.5 assists. So you know LaMelo is more the point guard than Terry Rozier is. Rozier's more the shooting guard. So I think we kind of lean more on these shooting guard numbers and the fact that they're giving up nearly 5 dimes to opposing shooting guards. There's some upside here for Terry Rozier to keep the streak going, to keep the streak alive of covering 3.5 dimes. So let's go ahead and take a look at the assist category for Rozier. I got him projected for 4.6 assists. And across 3 different books, 3 different sites, -140 betting favorite, -130 betting favorite to cover 3.5. So I think Rozier is definitely worth a look here going up against Boston, riding that hot hand. Aaron Rodgers is saying how Terry Rozier is still at 3.5 assists is flat out disrespectful. So you're liking those Rozier dimes, it sounds like. There wasn't a whole lot that Mr. Rodgers liked yesterday. Roney's talking about when Terry Rozier grabs a steal or even a rebound and they push on a fast break, he'll drop a dime off to the likes of LaMelo Ball, Miles Bridges, or Gordon Hayward. Is LaMelo back for Charlotte? I don't know. We'll have to keep an eye on the news. Easy assists, though. Yeah, Terry Rozier at 3.5 looks pretty good to me, too. Some other guys over the last 10 games who are just dropping dimes left and right. I'm going to say LaMelo's in because he's up on the PrizePicks board, by the way. I'm going to say that he's probably playing. But some other guys dropping some dimes at a pretty high hit rate. I won't go into all of these because, again, I want to get into some of your questions. Giannis Antetokounmpo, 70% hit rate over the last 10 games, showing good assist upside. Of course, DeJounte Murray is always in play when it comes to an assist prop. Mr. Murray, 70% hit rate in his last 10 games, so you definitely want to dig into his props a little bit further. We talked about liking some Bradley Beal assist at 5.5. What about his backcourt mate, Spencer Dinwiddie? Another guy over the last 10 covering at a 70% clip. And the last person that's been covering his assist prop at a pretty high rate, Will Barton at 3.5 dimes. Last 10 games for him has seen him assist at 70%, go over his assist in 70% of those games. So points, rebounds, and assists. You guys are talking about it. We've got a new player prop here for us to take a look at on the PrizePicks board. Now, some of these games I'm not really interested in. Cole Anthony in the Orlando Magic versus Joel Embiid in the Philadelphia 76ers. I would have to play this maybe in a first half format, and I don't believe that they have first half PRA yet. Maybe it comes soon, but right now it's just points and fantasy score. So for me, I'm probably avoiding the PRA on the Philadelphia 76ers Orlando Magic game. But we've talked about some of these guys in multiple categories here, like Bradley Beal at 32.5 PRA, points, rebounds, and assists. We have liked what we've seen. No game logs yet, by the way, for these PRA stats. I'm sure they're working on that. I'm sure the product team at PrizePicks will eventually give us those game logs. But we've talked about Bradley Beal in the points category. We've talked about his rebounds, and we've talked about his assists. So I think that maybe he could be in play here for all three. So Bradley Beal's PRA projection, 35.7. 35.7. Now he's at 32.5 points, rebounds, and assists tonight. I'm seeing him at 33.5 points, rebounds, and assists on a couple of different sports books, and they're betting the over, -120 and -125 betting favorite. So 35.7 is his projected PRA, 32.5 is his line on PrizePicks. I think he could definitely be in play here for points, rebounds, and assists. Now, Mr. James Harden, maybe he's in play. We haven't talked about him yet, but we know he does a little bit of everything for the Nets. Let's see what Harden's projection is. I won't go too deep on any of these. 42.9, so they like him to stay under 43.5. What about Kyrie Irving? Because you guys have talked about Kyrie Irving, liking Kyrie's points, liking Kyrie's assists. Oh, yeah. We got him at 37.8 projected PRA. I've never played points, rebounds, and assists before, but I think I will tonight. And I think this is a great game and a couple of really good players to potentially take PRA and try it out for the first time. Let's look at Kuzma. Kuzma's at 27 PRA. So his projection not looking great here. What about Dinwiddie? He kind of gets his hands involved in a little bit of this, a little bit of that. He's at 25.3 projected PRA. And you guys can tail if you want. I normally don't do stuff like this, but I'm going to put both of these guys just because I want to get into the mix. I want to try out this new prop. I'm going to put them both in. We'll make it a power play. I'm just going to do something light because I don't know how it's going to go. But how about $10 we'll put on it? Let me log in here. There we go. I'll just put $10 on it just because I want some skin in the game. I just want to see how it'll go. All right. So I took Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving over 32.5 PRA. They look like they're projected well. We know both guys will have their hands on the basketball. And I think they're both in pretty good spots here. We're seeing a little bit of value on these. Kyrie's at 33.5 PRA, projected for 37.8. Beal's at 33.5 PRA. So we're getting a point of value there, and he's projected for 35.7. So I like both of those. So if you want to get your feet wet, if you want to dip your toe in the water here, maybe you go Bradley Beal and Kyrie Irving, points, rebounds, and assists. I'm going to take the over on both and see what happens. You guys going to tail, or are you guys going to fade those two picks? You guys are in. We got some folks that are liking what they're seeing here. Okay. I wonder if StatMuse has support for PRA. Let's see. Kyrie Irving PRA logs. Did we get anything if we try that? No, he doesn't understand. They don't understand my question. How about Kyrie Irving points, rebounds, assists, logs? Not really. So we'll have to work on our search queries here, but it doesn't look like it understands points, rebounds, and assists. If you guys can get this to work, it's my first time ever trying this. No, so it's like bringing them up, but it's like bringing them up in like 3 different categories here. It's not combining the 3. So I guess you could do some quick math and just add them up. But yeah, we're not really seeing like a game log of PRA just yet. But if you know of a place or how to get this cracking for points, rebounds, and assists, leave it in the chat or leave it in the comment. Even better, leave it in the comment section after this video goes up if you guys figure that out. Please leave that in the comment section. All right, enough about PRA. Let's take a look at some 3-point makes. Let's see who's been getting it done in terms of 3-point makes over the last 10 games. Who do we have up on the board? It looks like we have quite a few 3-point props today, surprisingly. Typically, we don't have a ton, but it looks like we've got a fairly good amount tonight. Fairly good amount. Some of the guys that are showing good form in terms of high hit rates on their 3-point props. Will Barton at 1.5, 3-point makes, 90% hit rate. Bradley Beal at 1.5 3-point makes, and 80% hit rate. Terry Rozier, we like Terry Rozier a lot tonight. 2.5 3-point makes, 80% hit rate. One guy that we can talk about is LeBron James. He's at 2.5 3-point makes, and 80% hit rate. You guys are saying props.cash? Yes. Parker, good point. Parker Venus saying, if you're looking for some PRA numbers, go to props.cash. There's a link down in the description below. It'll get you your first month of props.cash, 25% off when you use promo code Curry. Check out the link down in the description. If you've never used props.cash before, this is a fantastic time for you to try it out. Props.cash does offer PRA research. All right. I'm going to just show you real quick. Love props.cash. I'm partnered with props.cash. I'm just going to log in. I'm going to show you the power of props.cash. Props.cash. If you wanted to look at a specific PRA from a specific game, we could go Brooklyn, Washington. This is just going to show you current season. KCP, Bradley Beal, what their hit rates are on their PRA line. So we wanted to look at Bradley Beal, right? Let's just go back. We're going to backtrack just a minute while you guys are talking about it. This is a great time, by the way, for you to sign up for props.cash. 32.5 PRA for Bradley Beal. Let's switch it up. So at 32.5 PRA over his last 10 games, a 90% hit rate. This is just a small sample of what you can do with props.cash. I just wanted to show you that if you're looking for how to research PRA stats, PropStatCash is the way to do it. Link down in the description below. First month, you'll get 25% off when you use promo code Curry. All right? That's how you can use PropStatCash, though. Fantastic tool. 90% hit rate. Bada bing, bada boom, bada bang. All right, over to the 3-point makes. We were talking LeBron James. At 2.5 3-point makes, he's covered this prop in 80% of his last 10 games. So very high hit rate at 2.5. We look at the last 5 games, still good, not great. Still good, but not great. 2.5 3-point makes, he has gone over this number in 60% of his games. He's averaging 2.4 3-point makes in that span. Let's look at this matchup here. LeBron, he's been kind of playing the center, power forward position for the Lakers, playing a lot more down in the front court rather than like on the wing, at least in terms of like where he lines up, who he's guarding, stuff like that, right? So let's go take a look at this matchup. He's going up against Indiana tonight. So it could be LeBron versus Sabonis. I don't know how they're going to match up. This will be very interesting. Indiana giving up 0.17 3-point makes over the last 7 games to opposing centers. So if LeBron lines up at center, it doesn't look good. Looks like they clamp down centers. But listen, most guys that line up at center aren't going to make a ton of threes. Indiana against power forwards giving up about 1.8 3-point makes. These numbers are going to be really hard to apply to LeBron James. I'm just saying, it's not going to be like a 1-to-1 fit. It's kind of difficult to transfer how these averages that Indiana, what they average in terms of 3-point makes. It's going to be hard to kind of transfer those to LeBron. He's a unicorn. He's a special bird, okay? So put very little faith in those matchups. Let's just pull a projection up for LeBron James. Let's get James Harden out of there. There we go. LeBron projected for 2.7 3-point makes, minus 135 betting favorite to go over 2.5. I believe we liked the total and we liked the spread from this game. And we like the form that LeBron is showing over his last 5 and last 10 games. So LeBron James could be a good option here going up against the likes of Sabonis and what's his name? Torrey Craig. Is he the starting power forward for the Pacers with Turner out? I think it's a good matchup for him. Who else is standing out? Who else is a good play? Well, we're not getting Keldon Johnson up on the board, but Keldon Johnson at 1.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate for him. Jeremiah Robinson Earl for Oklahoma City at 0.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate for him. John Collins, also not up on the board, but if you can get him at 1.5 3-point makes, 70% hit rate for him. These are all 10-game hit rates, by the way, 10-game. One guy we do see is Nasir Little. Now you look at the last 5 games for Little, 3, 2, 3, and 2 3-point makes made. Now he comes crashing back down to earth against Orlando with just 0 3-point makes. He didn't make a single basket from beyond the arc. So maybe he's due for a little bit of a bounce back spot because he has been shooting the basketball really well. But we have to keep in mind that Norman Powell's a game time decision. CJ McCollum is back in the lineup. And of course, Anthony Simons is a mainstay for Portland as well. So will there be enough shots to go around? If Norman Powell's out, I like this prop a little bit more for an overplay. If Norman Powell's in, well then some of that usage for Nasir Little is now pulled away from him and goes over to Norman Powell. Well, let's look at the matchup here for shooting guards, small forwards, the spots where Nasir Little will be lining up here. Miami giving up over 3.5 3-point makes over the last 7 games to opposing small forwards. So that could be a good matchup for Nasir Little. Again, it's if Norman Powell's out. Looking at the shooting guard spot, Miami giving up about 3.3 3-point makes to opposing shooting guards. So this is a very good matchup for 3-point shooters. Now, this is sort of the same kind of matchup we had last night with Andrew Wiggins versus Detroit. This is why I played Andrew Wiggins over 1.5 3-point makes. Detroit was giving up over 4 3-pointers per game to both shooting guards and small forwards. So we're seeing a kind of a similar matchup here for Nasir Little and the wing players for Portland. So if you want to take a wing player like Little over his 3-point makes, I think this could be a decent look. Let's go ahead and pull a projection up. Got him at exactly 1.5 projected threes, but he is a slight betting favorite to go over 1.5, minus 120 betting favorite. Otherwise, not a whole lot of three-point props really standing out to me. Some other guys hitting at a high hit rate that aren't up on the board. You got Miles Bridges at 1.5 three-point makes, 70% hit rate in his last 10 games. Maybe you look at OG Anunoby. OG not up on the, oh, yep, he is up on the board. OG Anunoby versus Dallas. He's been showing fantastic three-point form over his last 4 games. 4, 3, 3, and 3. He's averaging 3 3-point makes in that span. Let's just look at the matchup real quick and see how Dallas does at defending the shooting guard and small forward positions when it comes to 3-point makes. Got to go down a ways here. Dallas giving up just 2.4 3-point makes. That is the 7th fewest. 7th fewest. So tough matchup on paper for shooting guards. Again, Gary Trent, game time decision. We don't know if Gary Trent Jr. is going to be in or out. If he's out, I like this prop a little bit more. If he's in, could be more challenging, more difficult. Dallas giving up just 2.2 3-point makes to small forwards. That's the 5th fewest. So wings against Dallas, they're not knocking down a ton of threes here. But if Gary Trent is out, bump up to OG Anunoby. He should get more usage, more shot attempts, and could be a worthwhile play. OG projected for 3 3-point makes according to Action Labs, minus 125 betting favorite at 2.5 to go over 2.5 3-point makes. So there you go. OG Anunoby, probably the one that I would play if Gary Trent is out. Same thing with Nazir Little. If Norman Powell is out, I feel a little bit better about taking either one of those guys over. Otherwise, a lot of these other 3-point props not looking fantastic. Not looking great. All right, gang. They also have blocks and steals up. We won't get too in the weeds on these. No game logs available yet for these stats. Again, props.cash. I'm going to keep saying it. Props.cash. If you want to easily research blocks and steals, if you want to easily research points, rebounds, and assists, props.cash. Okay? That's what you should be using. But Joel Embiid, 2.5 blocks and steals. Kyle Kuzma, 1.5 blocks and steals. We can pull these up using the action projection tool just to see if we can get you a projection here. I've got Embiid projected for 2.4 blocks and steals. Not great. He's actually a betting favorite to go under 2.5. Okay. So if you want to take an under, maybe you lean under on Joel Embiid. Kyle Kuzma is projected for 1.6 blocks and steals, but is a betting favorite to go under at minus 125 odds. So maybe we'll get more of these blocks and steal props, these points, rebounds, and assist props. Looks like they've already added some more here, this Boston game anyway. Maybe they're going to add more throughout the day. Maybe we'll get more in the coming days. But pretty cool that we're getting more ways to play over on PrizePicks. Definitely check out PrizePicks.com. Use promo code Curry. Maybe you've never seen PrizePicks before. Maybe you've never played a single entry on PrizePicks, never deposited. If you deposit for the very first time, you use promo code Curry, you'll get a 100% instant deposit match on your first deposit, all the way up to $100. So if you want to max out the deal, put in 100, they're giving you 100 on top of that. You'll have $200 to get you going. And your first entry on PrizePicks, completely risk-free. It's a no-brainer. Promo code's floating above my head here, Curry. Link down in the description if you want to check out PrizePicks or props.cash or anything else that I have going on. All right. Free throw makes, not a lot to say there. You know the drill. Look for the most aggressive players. Look for the players that are going to have high usage, the guys who are going to have the basketball in their hands, who are not going to just sit out there and camp the three-point line. I'm looking at you, Julius Randle. I'm looking at you, bro. You big 6'10" power forward. You just like to sit out there and shoot threes. Yeah, Julius. I'm looking at you. We don't like complacency around here when we take our free throw props. We want guys to attack and be aggressive. We want those guys who are going to be the designated shooters in technical foul situations. We want those guys going to the free throw line in crunch time when those intentional fouls start coming around. Okay? Those are the players we're looking to target. We also need to keep in mind who's shooting free throws at a high percentage. The king of all free throw makes for me is going to be this guy, Joel Embiid. I don't know that there's a safer free throw maker out there right now. This guy gets fouled at a crazy high rate. Crazy high rate. I just want to take a look at something real quick. Joel Embiid, free throws made versus Magic logs. Just to see how he's done historically against my Orlando Magic. 7, 7, 6, 6, and 9 in his last 5 meetings against the Magic. So he's yet to cover. In fact, golly, if we look at all of these game logs here, he has never covered 9 free throw makes versus the Orlando Magic. Interesting. Interesting. So maybe the king won't be the king tonight at 9 free throw makes. Maybe that number's too high. He has never went for 10 free throws or more versus Orlando. There's a first time for everything. I don't know if it'll be tonight. But that's an eye-opening factoid. Embiid, 0 for 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14. 0 for his last 14, or 0 for 14 against Orlando and covering 9 free throw makes. I don't know. You guys got the cojones to take the under on Joel Embiid? All right. We'll cut Julius Randle some slack, but a lot of the times Julius Randle just falls in love with shooting threes and stuff. Kyle says 200 people watching and only 100 likes. Come on, boys and girls. Come on, boys and girls. Kyle, you can't leave out the girls. There are ladies that tune into this. Truth be told, there are some ladies that like to play prize picks too. All right, gang, give me some of your favorite picks. I'm going to grab a little water. We've got some exciting stuff happening here. 13 games tonight. We've got points, rebounds, and assists to look forward to. Look at that. They're adding more as we speak. Some Charlotte Hornets PRAs being added to the board. We've got blocks and steals. Not a lot of them yet, but they're working on it. 13 games, lots of players, lots of props, new prop categories being introduced today as well. Gotta love what you're seeing here. Andy, Wendell Carter Jr., don't know yet. We don't know yet. Jay Brown says if she plays on Prize Picks, she's a keeper. I like that. No, Mo Bamba is not projected to start. It looks like it's going to be Robin Lopez. What we can do also with StatMuse, which is pretty cool. Joel Embiid free throws made versus Robin Lopez. He's only covered 9 free throw makes against Robin Lopez in 2 career games. Just saying, throwing it out there. Aaron, you said this season hasn't been blowouts between Orlando and Philly, but I would ask you this. Who was in for Orlando in those games? Were they running a fully healthy squad, fully healthy unit? Because they will not be tonight, potentially. Sounds like Mo Bamba might be out. Robin Lopez, I don't know. Robin Lopez looks like he's starting, and it looks like if anybody's going to start next to him, it might be Wendell Carter Jr. if he's in. Aaron's talking about Ja Morant's assists. We have not talked about Ja Morant. Listen, there's a lot of different ways to go tonight. No disrespect to you, Ja. Let's look at his assists, though. Ja's facing off against the Milwaukee Bucks tonight. He is at 6 dimes right now on Prize Picks. 6 dimes on Prize Picks. 4 out of the last 5 games, he has covered 6 assists. He fell short against Chicago with just 3 assists. So you know me, I like going after guys in a potentially good bounce back spot. This was definitely a flop of a game for Ja Morant when it comes to dime dropping. He's averaging 7 assists over his last 5 games. He had just 3 against Chicago. Below average game, right? So maybe he looks to get right tonight against this tough team in the Milwaukee Bucks. Especially if Drew Holiday is in. We got to wait and see. We're waiting on some Drew Holiday news. Now, the Milwaukee Bucks are giving up about 8 assists per game to opposing point guards, which puts them down toward the bottom. Not the sexiest matchup on paper, guys. Let's pull a projection up for you, though. lightning round research, we call this. Definitely don't let this be where your research ends. This is lightning round research. Ja Morant, 6.5 assists. He is a betting favorite to go under at -120, but the action projection tool does have him at 7.1 projected dimes, which is more than 6. And he's coming off of a bad game. I do expect him to have maybe more than 3 assists tonight. Robert Leslie, you're asking about some T-Wolves players. Can we talk about some T-Wolves players? Seeing some request on SGA over on points. Some T-Wolves players. What do you want to? I mean, there's a lot of different T-Wolves players. They're going up against Atlanta tonight. Here's what we could do for that. We'll look at we'll sort by team here. And we'll look at all the different single stat categories, and we'll go across each position. So point guards not having a great time against Atlanta here in the last 7 games. Atlanta allowing just 19.3 points. So maybe you want to take the under on some points props. Point guard points props. Looks like a difficult time. Go to the shooting guard position. Atlanta giving up almost 24.5 points per game to opposing shooting guards. So maybe that helps a guy like D'Angelo Russell or Anthony Edwards. Again, Atlanta giving up the 5th most points per game to opposing shooting guards. They're also giving up over 4 3-point makes. So if we have any Minnesota Timberwolves 3-point props up, which it doesn't look like we do at the moment, but if we get like an Anthony Edwards 3-point prop, a D'Angelo Russell 3-point prop, maybe you go there because Atlanta's given up over 4 3-point makes. Looking at the small forward position, Atlanta giving up over 24 points per game. So again, that would put Anthony Edwards, D'Angelo Russell in play for me. Those wing players have been feasting against the Atlanta Hawks over the last 7 games. They're also giving up over 3 3-point makes, 3.5 3-point makes to small forwards. So yeah, D'Lo and Edwards both going to be in play. Let's look at the power forward position. They're giving up over 23 points per game to opposing power forwards. I don't know that that helps anybody a whole lot unless you want to take Jared Vanderbilt over points again. Maybe he bounces back. Maybe he ends up having a pretty decent game after kind of a dud last night. But the Hawks giving up a lot of points to the wings and to power forwards. How about the center position? Not doing a great job defensively there either. So you can attack the Hawks at the center spot. So that would be Karl Anthony Towns, obviously. They're giving up over 24 points per game to opposing centers. But look at the rebounds. In the last 7 games, if Clint Capella's out tonight, where's Karl Anthony Towns' rebounds? 9.5 versus Atlanta. We know he had a bad game rebounding last night against the Knicks. He's only hit this prop in 1 out of his last 5 games. So I would say that either Karl Anthony Towns or Jared Vanderbilt's rebounds would be in play. One of these guys is probably going to benefit. Again, the Hawks giving up nearly 18 rebounds per game, the second most to opposing centers. And not quite as many to power forwards. So I would say whoever's spending more time at center, probably Karl Anthony Towns, maybe you take a shot on him going over. So those are some T-Wolves props to maybe think about. Appreciate everybody for liking the stream. It's amazing that we're now pulling in over 200 concurrent viewers. I need all the likes that I can get to keep this thing growing. I want to help as many of you as possible. Remember, guys, we're all one community. We're all on one team. We're all trying to win together. That's the beauty of PrizePicks. We can all come together, unite around sports, player props, and try to win money together. We're not against each other here. You might have disagreements on certain props. That's okay to disagree with people in the chat. No problem there. But we could do it respectfully. And we can try to help one another. That's what I'm trying to do with my content, is help one another. And I can help more people by growing. And I can only grow if you guys like, subscribe, share my videos, my streams, this information with as many people as possible. Now, a couple of you guys are talking about some SGA points. let's talk about SGA. Let's see what you're liking about SGA going up against San Antonio tonight. The last 5 games for him, he's definitely had some scoring outbursts. 32, 33, 34. But then he's got games where he scored just 8 points. So that's pretty deflating. He's going up against San Antonio tonight. Do we think this game stays close and competitive enough for him to get buckets? That's a good question. What would you call SGA? We've talked about this in previous streams. You got SGA, you got Lou Dort, you got Josh Giddey, you got Jeremiah Earl Robinson. You got all these different players that are kind of interchangeable pieces, parts, point guards, shooting guards, forwards. Like, what do you classify them as? I guess I would call SGA the point guard just because he probably handles the ball more than anybody else for the Thunder. His usage rate probably the highest as well. San Antonio giving up over 25 points per game, nearly 26 points per game. That puts him inside the top 10 in terms of most generous defenses to point guards and in the point column. Look at the assists too. They're giving up over 10 dimes per game to opposing point guards. So you could go SGA points and assists. I mean, heck, they're even giving up 7.4 rebounds per game, which puts them pretty close. They're just soft all around when it comes to guarding the point guard position. They're giving up over 53 fantasy points per game as well. So if you think that SGA is going to be this Swiss Army knife type of player and do a little bit of everything against San Antonio tonight, think about taking the fantasy points for him as well. Or if they have him up, I don't know that they will have him up, but if they put him up for PRA, SGA for PRA could make some sense as well. Let's take a look at his fantasy score. You guys are hung up on his points, which is a good way to go. I'm not saying it's a bad play. But maybe he's got a higher hit rate on fantasy points at 43 fantasy points. It's about the same. About the same. He's at 43 fantasy points today, facing off against a defense giving up the 5th most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So I think SGA points or fantasy points could definitely be worth a look. Now, you guys asked about points. I've got him at 23.3 projected points. Here's the cool part. Let's go back to his points real quick. The cool part about this, or the good thing that we're able to identify, is that he's at 23.5 points, right? But we're seeing lines of 24.5, 25.5 points on some of these other books. Listen, that's 1 and in some cases 2 points of value versus his line on PrizePicks of 23.5. Meaning the lines makers on some of these other sports books think that 25, 26 points is achievable by SGA tonight. Okay? Those are very good plays, very good value plays. So forget the projection. I mean, the projection's not bad. It's 23.3. He's at 23.5. But the fact that we're seeing value of 1 to 2 points versus where he's at on PrizePicks at the moment, I like that. I like that a lot. Now, I also wanted to pull up a projection for his fantasy points. He is at 40.3 fantasy points, which I believe was a couple points, 1 to 2 points lower than his line on PrizePicks, right? I think he was at like 42, 43. 43 on PrizePicks, 40.3 on the Fantasy Labs projections. One other thing that you could do to dig a little bit deeper for you SGA lovers out there, you can go Gilgeous Alexander FanDuel points versus Spurs logs. Now, I say FanDuel points because FanDuel points, PrizePicks fantasy points, exactly the same, in case you didn't know. And then you could kind of get an idea at how well he's done in terms of fantasy points since joining the Oklahoma City Thunder when facing off against the San Antonio Spurs. So how many times has he covered 43? 1, 2, 3. 3 times out of 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8. 3 out of 8. So not a great hit rate when it comes to fantasy points. Now, you guys mentioned his real life points. He's only covered that in 1, 2, 3 games as well. So you see a little bit of a correlation. When he covers his actual points, he also covers his fantasy points. So for those of you asking about SGA, I think it's a good play. The matchup looks right. It could set up for a good night for SGA. But I want to say that the spread on this game was about 7.5 points. So we're going to really need Oklahoma City to come out and play hard and keep the game from blowing away. Roberto, you're saying, talk to you about Jaylen Brown points and Darius Garland's assists. I'll take one of those. How about that? We've talked Darius Garland's points. I think we like Darius Garland across the board. Rebounds, assists. I think he's a PRA play or a fantasy point play. So let's look at Jaylen Brown's points because we haven't talked about Jaylen Brown in terms of points at all. He's at 23.5 versus Charlotte. Whew. He's on a 3-game downturn. We took him the other day over against the New Orleans Pelicans. We lost by the hook. 23.5 was his line the other day against New Orleans. He ended up with 23 points, guys. It was brutal. It was a bad beat. We go to the shooting guard position. We go over to the points column. We go find the Charlotte Hornets. How many points per game are they giving up to opposing shooting guards? Surprisingly, not as many as you would think. Less than 18 points per game surrendered to opposing shooting guards over the last 7 games. That is the 4th most difficult matchup you can ask for here. Now for fun, let's look at the small forward position because it's a completely different turn of events here. They're giving up the 2nd most points per game to opposing small forwards. So small forwards, eaten. Shooting guards, not eaten. So where do you kind of put Jaylen Brown in this situation? That's going to be the question you have to answer. Let's go ahead and pull a projection up for Jaylen. He's at 25.3 projected points. Seeing him at 24.5 on every sports book out there. So he is a point lower on PrizePicks versus some of these other sites. So we're getting a point of value here, which is enticing if we're looking to take the over. At some point, Jaylen Brown's going to have to pop back up. What I mean by that is his scoring is going to have to pop back up. He can't stay at 21, 19, and 23 forever, can he? Can he? Not for a guy with 34-point upside. At some point, he's going to get right. One other thing that we could do here is if you want to dig in a little bit deeper, I'm just showing you guys how to do this. I won't do this for every single player. I don't have the time to do it for every single player. Jaylen Brown points versus Hornets. Logs. How has he done scoring against the Hornets? Well, this season, he's got 1 game against the Hornets. He scored 30 points against them. Only 1 game to reference from this season. Last season, he had 38 against them in 1 game, 20 in another, 17 in another. So I don't want to go all the way back to 2019. I mean, these game logs get to be pretty old, pretty stale. But 3 games last season, he covered 23.5 points. So he's 1 for 3 covering in 3 games against the Hornets last season. And then 1 for 1 this season covering 23.5 versus the Hornets. So eventually, I think he's going to come back to life in terms of scoring. I don't know if it'll be tonight or not. All right. Getting pretty late here. Hour and 45 minutes in. I never intend for these things to go this long. I really don't. But when you got 13 games and all these different points and all these different props rather to talk about, listen, things tend to run a bit long. So if you ever catch this on the replay, don't be afraid to hit that 1.25x, 1.5x playback speed. I try to do the chapters, try to give you some chapters as well to help you navigate a little bit easier. Isaac, you're liking Jordan Clarkson over 1.5 3-point makes. Where is he at on the PrizePicks board? Because, yes, Donovan Mitchell's out for Utah, so I think Jordan Clarkson's 3-point makes could be in play. We don't have them up on the board. I'll just quickly pull a projection up for you just to help you out a little bit, give you a little bit more insight. Dang it, he's not up there. Let's refresh the projection tool here. Refresh. Clarkson, there we go. 3.4 projected threes. But he's at 3.5 on your favorite sports book. Minus 155 betting, favorite to go under 3.5 though. Let's see here. What else are you guys liking? My little chat window here is screwing up on me. Yeah, seeing some love for Amir Coffee. Definitely liking some Amir Coffee. He has been balling. Somebody mentioned Strus for Miami. Strus has been balling as well. Is he up on the board for 3-point makes? He's not. They would not give us Struve over 3-point makes. He's been actually very, very good in terms of 3-point makes. I don't even have a projection up for him, unfortunately. Nope, nothing for Struve. So we'll have to wait and see. I'm not sure where he'll be at, but yes, Struve 3-point or Strus rather. I don't know why I'm calling him Struve. Strus 3-point makes have been very good. Young O, you're saying that no Desmond Bane or Tyus tonight for Memphis? Okay. Aaron, you're talking about pulling up Ja Morant's numbers. Sorry, I know we talked about this Morant play a while ago. Pulling up his numbers without Bane and Tyus Jones. Well, we could do that real quick. Ja Morant assists without Bane logs. 6, 12, 8, 10, and 10. So you're saying more assists from the looks of things for Ja Morant without Desmond Bane. Plus, like I said, he's on a bad game, or coming off of a bad game against Chicago where he hedges 3 dimes. So yeah, this would be a good spot for him to like pop back up, right? And if Drew Holiday's in there, maybe Ja has to pass more because he's getting clamped down by one of the best defenders at the point guard position. Isaac is saying that either Gabe Vincent or Jimmy Butler is going to get those point guard minutes without Kyle Lowry. Okay. Denzel, you're liking both Russell's assists and SGA. Where's D'Angelo Russell's assist at today? 6.5 again versus Atlanta. He's coming off of a little bit of a bad game against New York last night. I think he got into some foul trouble, right? Right or wrong on that, folks. I believe he was in some foul trouble. I'm just going to quickly pull up a projection here for Mr. Russell. We won't go too crazy on this. Got him projected for 7.5 dimes, but minus 150, minus 145, and minus 135. Betting favorite to go under 6.5 assists. So there you go on D'Angelo Russell. Kobe White's been balling, Dub K. I do like some Kobe White with both Levine and Lonzo out of the lineup. You are specifically asking about Kobe White's fantasy points. Where you at? Where you at? There he go. There he go. Kobe White time. Yeah, 28 fantasy points. He's gone over in 2 straight games. 33.1 and 28.7. Let's look at the matchup real quick. He'll be the point guard, obviously. We'll go over to the fantasy points against Cleveland. Cleveland, a little stingy. 47 fantasy points per game. Kind of puts him right around middle of the pack. Now, for whatever reason, if Kobe White, if you consider him to be a shooting guard, okay, we'll play that game. 42.4 fantasy points allowed by Cleveland. So not a great matchup. You know, these guys aren't toward the top 3, top 5 teams in terms of fantasy points allowed to point guard, shooting guards, but not a terrible matchup either where we're looking to fade the play. I got Kobe projected for 30.5 fantasy points. 30.5. And his rating is 78.2. So I think you could definitely take a shot on the over on Kobe White. If you think the game blows out, that Cleveland's going to just run over Chicago, then you could also look at this as a first half only play. Jojo Rabbit, you're mentioning D'Angelo Russell rebounds at 2.5. Is he up on the PrizePicks board at 2.5? He is not. We're not getting a D'Angelo Russell rebound prop from the looks of things. I'll get you a projection, though. I got him projected for 3.7 boards. Well, there's a reason why we're not going to get him at 2.5 on PrizePicks. He's a betting favorite, -170, -165 to go over. Brando777 wants to know, do you think Kyle Kuzma gets over 9 rebounds? Well, I think we talked about it earlier. He sure has shown an ability to get 9+ rebounds. I think he's at 9.5 on most of the books. I think for me, I lean toward the over, although the matchup against Brooklyn looks like a difficult one in terms of rebounds allowed to power forwards. George, one of our Patreon members, shout out to you, George. You're asking about Robert the Time Lord Williams' first half fantasy points. Let's take a look at it. Robert Williams, first half FanDuel points logs. Looking pretty solid here. Let's go take a look and see what his number is at. Appreciate all the likes, by the way, guys. You guys are tearing up those likes. Appreciate you, man. If you haven't liked yet, you still got time. No rush. We're still doing this thing live. Robert Williams is at 15 fantasy points tonight. I know he was a well-liked dude when it comes to a double-double. He's been hitting some double-doubles lately for Boston. So Robert Williams at 15 fantasy points. Let's look at his last 5 games. He's gone over in 1, 2, 3, 4 out of 5. That's an 80% hit rate. We go back to the next 5 games. He's gone over in 1, 2, 3, 4, 5 there. So 9 out of his last 10 games, he has gone over 15 fantasy points. He gets Charlotte tonight. Let's look at the matchup against the Hornets. Hornets. Ooh. Giving up the second fewest fantasy points per game to opposing centers. So it's going to be a tough matchup on paper. Now, on paper last night, Karl Anthony Towns versus the Knicks was a tough matchup. They ended up, if it wasn't for the taco, if you played his regular point line his pre-taco point prop, he did not get it done against the Knicks. Right? I'm pretty sure that's the case. He also did not cover his rebound prop against the Knicks. So I'm just saying that we say on paper, but the matchup's tough here. So kind of like last night when Karl Anthony Towns was going up against New York, they were going up just 15 points and 11 rebounds. See these darker numbers here? That means bad matchup. Could be a bad matchup, tough matchup for Robert Williams. Do we have in the last 10 games any previous matchups against Charlotte? We do not. So take this a step further. You could go Robert Williams first half FanDuel points. We'll go versus Hornets logs. So he played the Hornets back on October 25th of this season, had 15.3 fantasy points. Barely got over, but got over. Going back to last season, he had 17.2 first half fantasy points against Charlotte on April 28th. He covered there. Going back to April 4th, 2021, which was last season, 21.8 fantasy points there. So in his last 3 games, we won't go all the way back to 2019, 2018, but in his last 3 games spanning last season and this season against Charlotte, he has covered 15 fantasy points in 3 straight games. And again, 90%, I think we said. 9 out of his last 10 games, he has covered 15 fantasy points. So I think that looks like a really strong play. He's shown a great ability to go over fantasy points in the first half. Cam, we have not talked about Seth Curry's assists, but Seth Curry's assists have been very good lately. Very good. They were at 3.5 at one point. They're at 4.5 now. At 4.5 assists, 4 for 5. 4 out of his last 5 games, 80% hit rate at covering this assist prop. I'll just pull up a projection for you. Seth is at 3.7 projected assists. I believe he was projected to go under in the last game too, but it didn't happen. He ended up going over again against Washington. Looking at 3 different books here, 2 out of the 3 books have him at 4.5, but one book decided that 5.5 was the more appropriate line, which means maybe we've got a situation where there's some upside for Seth Curry. So yeah, in case you haven't played NBA player props before, Seth Curry's assists are good. Isaac, you're talking about some Yurtseven over assists. Do they actually have him up on the board? No, they don't. Be careful with him because now you got Bam Adebayo back. You've got Dwayne Dedmon back. PJ Tucker's going to be in the mix in the front court. They've kind of like started disrespecting the board lord Yurtseven. George is saying, take some Anthony Simons under with CJ McCollum back. Yeah, for sure. For sure. Cat's board's just too risky. Don't blame me there. Todd, live for Sunday, says, yes, grow. We need CJ. Smash that like button. Love it. Love it. Nair like Kyrie. I don't know what that even means. All he's saying is your mom. All right. Your mom too. While we're at it. Yeah, we hate Mitchell Robinson for sure. For sure. Jojo Rabbit sharing some philosophical insight here. Disagreement is just understanding, just not found yet. Disagreement is understanding, just not found yet. Okay, I like that. I like that. Ethan, you're saying we liking Miles Bridges today? Points and rebounds? Ethan, I don't know, man. Miles Bridges, points and rebounds? Is he up for points, rebounds, and assists? He is. He's at 30.5. Let's just pull up a projection for PRA on Mr. Bridges here and see how that's looking. I have him projected for 31.3 PRA. 31.3, a little bit more than 30.5. At 30.5, people are betting the under on Miles Bridges. PRA. DeJounte Murray. You guys are talking about some DeJounte Murray. Hey, Andrew Vihande. What's good, man? He says he was multitasking. He didn't have a chance to say what's good to everyone in the chat. For sure, for sure. Shout out to you. Thanks for being here, my friend. Yes, Kyrie Irving for sure. I think he's definitely in play. We talked about liking Kyrie Irving for points, rebounds, and assists. I think his points obviously would definitely be in play. You guys, let me go back to that DeJounte Murray play. DeJounte Murray fantasy points. George dropping another little gem, another little potential nugget of glory, of goodness here. 46 fantasy points. It's getting kind of up there, right? For DeJounte Murray, 46, but he has shown 69. Ooh, 69. 69.5 fantasy point upside. 56.8 fantasy point upside in the last 5 games. What do we think about this matchup, though, against OKC? I can tell you this. They're giving up the first most fantasy points per game to opposing point guards. So you're talking about DVP, defense versus position, in the fantasy point category. No other team is giving up 60 or more fantasy points. They're the only team giving up that many fantasy points to opposing point guards. So yes, DeJounte Murray, you are in a great spot today. Now, what's he projected for according to Fantasy Labs? 45.2. But he's got 61 point ceiling in this matchup, according to the Fantasy Labs models. So yes, DeJounte Murray, I think, should definitely be considered. Just going back here, DeJounte Murray, FanDuel points versus Thunder logs. Showing you guys how you take things a step further here. How many times has he covered 46 against OKC? Well, he faced them earlier this season, had just 42.1. That's not enough. The last time he covered was back on February 24th of last year, 52.8. So he's only covered 46 fantasy points once in his career versus OKC. Does Lightning strike twice tonight against the Thunder? We'll have to see. Not a very good hit rate, though, for him historically versus Oklahoma City. One time he has exceeded 46. Yeah, Vlanecki, we liked Scary Terry tonight over points. Revenge game versus his former team, Boston Celtics. I think that's definitely in play. Delvin, my man, liking some Luka Doncic fantasy points. Luka's going up against Toronto. The Toronto Raptors. Let's look at this matchup real quick. Fantasy points, Raptors, how many are they giving up per game to point guards? Down toward the bottom, actually. Giving up about 44 fantasy points per game on average. So it's going to take an above average type of performance for Luka tonight, I think, for him to potentially cover that. Got him projected for 54.2 fantasy points, which is a whole lot more than 49. A whole lot more than 49. Same situation here. You can just change the names. You can go Luka Doncic, FanDuel points versus Raptors instead of Thunder. How many times has he covered 49? Pretty good hit rate here. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6 career games, 4 for 6. He covered once this season in one previous matchup versus Toronto, dropping nearly 54 fantasy points on him. So, matchup on paper, not great, but he has shown an ability more often than not to cover 49 fantasy points versus Toronto. All right, guys. We're over the 2-hour mark. I am going to probably say goodbye. I'm sorry. I know there's lots of questions, lots of things being asked on this big 13-game slate. If you have any last-minute ones, you want to leave a super chat or something, go ahead and do so now. Otherwise, I'm going to get out of here. I can't answer them all. I can't. I want to, but I can't. I'm one man with only so much time. I'm actually doing a second show all about fantasy points, player props on PrizePicks over on the Fantasy Labs YouTube channel at 3 o'clock. So I kind of have to get out of here pretty soon to get ready for that show. So if you want more player prop content, mostly about fantasy points, catch me over on the Fantasy Labs YouTube channel, 3 p.m. Eastern. That's like 2 hours from now. That's why I got to get out of here. I got to go eat some lunch. I got to go prepare to make sure that I'm ready to go for that Fantasy Labs Fantasy Point show. Tyler Harrow has entered health and safety protocols and has been ruled out of tonight's game versus the Blazers. Wow. Thanks, Trill Fate. Appreciate that, man. I'm just trying to grow the brand, baby. Just trying to grow the brand. Trying to grow my my presence and everything. But yeah, I'm going to get out of here because I got to get up out of here, man. I'm pulling double duty today on these live streams. So I appreciate everybody being here. Maybe if you're free, available, have nothing to do later, you can catch me over on the Fantasy Labs YouTube channel where we'll be talking some fantasy point props over on PrizePicks, okay? We'll see you then. Peace.